This is the BMW i5 M60 xDrive, a car that has a few tricks up its sleeve, like this. I'm going, oh! And this. It can take selfies. And how about this? Sounds like something from Star Wars, doesn't it? But before I tell you all the rest, if you aren't already, please do subscribe to our channel because we get early access to every electric car that's coming to the market. So if you are into them, then this is the place for you. This car has got a lot to live up to. It is an icon. This is the 8th generation of BMW's 5 Series. It's been around since 1973, believe it or not. But for the first time, there is a pure electric version. And BMW, well, they really needed to get it right. And spoiler alert, they did. They got it very right. Particularly when it comes to this version, because as I said, this is the BMW i5 M60 xDrive. It's been tweaked by the marvels from BMW's M Performance division, and this is the most powerful version that you can get their hands on. Might have kept that a secret from the rest of the Electrifying gang. I just didn't want to share it, basically, because it's good. It's really good. And let's clear one thing up straight away before I start with all the stuff about how it drives. Just come down here. Look at the grille. It's not weird, is it? It's not too big, it's not too small, it just doesn't look strange. And it's also got this fantastic light bar around it that looks brilliant at night. Yeah, as I said straight away, off to a great start there, aren't we? So what does the M60 get over and above the standard version? Well, on a practical level, there's upgraded 22 kilowatt AC charging, something all the Electrifying gang find very handy. But you weren't really coming here to listen to me talk about charging speeds, were you? Nope. Right, let's get to the good stuff. So there are some exterior and headlight tweaks, 20-inch alloy wheels, M Sport brakes with lovely red calipers, a lip spoiler, BMW's M-style door mirrors, and inside there is a Bowers & Wilkins sound system along with an M Sport steering wheel. But most of the treats are ones you experience rather than see. It has an additional front-mounted motor which gives it an extra 256 brake horsepower over an entry-level i5. The ride height has been slightly lowered, the steering has been sharpened up, and you get active anti-roll bars for handling goodness. So let's kick off with driving, because let's face it, that's the main reason you want to buy one of these, right? Those two motors combine to give an output of just over 600 horsepower, with a top speed limited to 142 miles per hour. Acceleration, unsurprisingly, is pretty epic. Officially, 0 to 62 takes 3.8 seconds. Okay, and I am going to stop now at this point and get something out of the way, launch control, because it does come with launch control and it is an amazing party trick. So I'm going to pop it into sport. Okay, I've got my foot on the brake, get ready for this. Stamp down on the accelerator, seatbelt tightens, launch control is active. It starts to shudder and shake and generally just go, let me go, let me go, let me go, let me unleash you. I've had to back off the accelerator. It's unbelievable. It's a wet day. It just doesn't get a hold. That's incredible. It is so quick off the mark. And yes, there are some rivals out there with more power off the mark. Well, there's the Tesla Model S, a Plaid. But it doesn't love corners the way this car loves corners. Unlike the Tesla, this isn't a one-trick pony, and it's not all about instant gratification. Yes, you can play with launch control, but in day-to-day driving, what you get is really smooth, punchy delivery of power right throughout the range, which is absolutely fantastic for motorway driving. It is a really good all-rounder. So yes, launch control is fun. More fun stuff. How about the boost pedal here on the wheel, which I've made excellent use of? It gives you maximum power in bursts of 10 seconds. You ready? And it counts you down as well. It's just really fun. Really, really fun. And you get a sound and light show to go with it, which is always fun. So this is the sound you get in sport mode. Listen to this. That sounds like something from Star Wars, doesn't it? I used to really hate sounds on electric cars, but now if they are done right, as they are in this, I do really like them. So right, if this one isn't your thing, let's have a play around here. Move into expressive. Listen to that. What do you think of expressive? Bit more your thing? I quite like that. Look, whatever sound you settle on, you are going to be listening to something that has been beautifully composed, because they've actually all been put together by Hans Zimmer. Right then, let's have a little bit of the practical stuff, shall we? The battery, well, that has a capacity of 88.4 kilowatt hours. I found the real world driving on a mixture of motorway and town driving to be around 290 miles on a full charge, a little below its claimed range of 315 miles. In winter, well, that did take quite a dip to around 220. What I have been impressed with though is how accurate those range predictions are, which does make journey planning easy. It's also fast to top up. There's that 22 kilowatt AC charging, but it will also charge it up to 206 kilowatt DC. And I have been able to top it up completely from almost empty at an open Tesla supercharger in just over half an hour. There is a lesser i5 version called the 40. Now that's not as fast and it's less expensive, but it does get an extra 36 miles of official range. On some long journeys, I would probably have appreciated those extra miles. Would I use the extra power more often than extra range? Maybe. I guess it just depends on how sensible I'm feeling. So let's get away from the rain and focus on the interior, because there's a lot to say, because there's a lot going on in here. It feels very much like a baby i7. And of course, like the i7, you can't miss the massive screen that curves around. Like the i7, I can't fault the quality of the interior. It feels beautifully put together, as you expect from a BMW. The piano black trim, though, plays havoc with my OCD. It's constantly covered in dust and fingerprints. So you've got your driver display here in front of me, which is very handy, and then you've got all your apps and your entertainment. One thing I really like is the head-up display. It's very clear. It's also quite large, and it's really handy when you're driving at night. When I first got this car, I almost felt a bit overwhelmed by the tech on this car. It's just packed with apps in here. You can stream video, play games, you can take selfies, but you really quickly start to hone in on the ones you use the most. So they're all here in this screen. You can move them around and set them up exactly how you want them to be. There's also an option here on the side where you can quickly see the ones that you use the most, which is really handy. Video, that's having a teenager in the car. YouTube, games, that's what a teenager does to you. The other thing I really like is CarPlay. It connects really easily. There's never been any lag when you've been connecting. Voice Assist, I think, works pretty well too. And it will also answer in quite an informative way questions that you might have about elements of the tech. It's actually quite useful. And that, I think, generally my feeling about the tech is that it is quite intuitive and far easier to use than I first thought it would be. For navigation though, it is best to use CarPlay because this inbuilt system is a bit laggy. It's quite late to tell you when you make a turning or leave a roundabout. And you know, normally I would use this if I needed to get to a charging point on the way, because it would precondition for you if it's all set in here. But you don't even need to do that, because what you can do is actually set this remotely anyway. Ready, there it is. So you can, as you're driving along, if you're using CarPlay, you can actually precondition the battery, and you can do that using the voice controls as well, which is really useful. Another thing that I really like when I'm here is if you go into my modes and I put it into efficient, you'll see it's got a thing here called activate maximum range. It just reduces the functions on the car, boosts the range, gives you just a little bit of extra. It's a great function, and that's definitely got me out of a tricky situation a couple of times. Think of that as your get out of jail card. It is very handy. What I don't love as much are the controls just under here as much. They need a bit of a prod. Storage isn't the best either, look. It's a bit mean there. The door bins are a bit narrow. There's also no storage here in the centre, which just feels a bit old-fashioned. Only one of the two phone compartments here offers wireless charging. Cup holders are an okay size, and there are loads of charging ports, but they're just a bit awkward just down there at the front. So it can be a bit fiddly just to plug them in because they're quite close. Unlike Nicola, I'm not a fan of the crystal ball in the Genesis GV60. I don't like it at all. But I do like the crystal in here, which I know is completely hypocritical of me, Nick. Sorry about that. But the way it's on the iDrive controller here and on the gear selector and on the volume, I do just quite like it. I also like the crystal bar that runs all along the doors and along the dash. And they change colour depending what mode you're in, which I just think looks really cool. So yeah, maybe I like bling a bit more than I like to get on, really. The other thing that does, which is good, is the crystal here in the doors will flash red if you're about to open a door, and it senses that there's a cyclist or a car coming, which is a really nice safety feature. I also love the fact there's loads of proper physical buttons. You've got them here on the steering wheel, right where you need them. Also here around the iDrive, you can do your nav, telephone, media. It's all very easy to use. And as I said, it's voice activated, and you can use gesture controls as well. So you've got basically loads of options. Now, it's worth pointing out there are loads of extras on this car. It comes with a pack as standard, which gives you interior cameras, parking assist, stuff like that. But it has a couple of extra packs that add over £7,000 to the price, along with a lovely pano roof. That costs an extra £1,600. And what I think seems really mean is that you've got to add the comfort pack, which is just a couple of £100 short of £4,000, to get a heated steering wheel, which seems to me such a basic for an electric car. And that electronically operated boot, that's got to be in one of those extra packs as well. I just think come on BMW, for a car of this value, I really would expect things like an electrically operated boot and a heated steering wheel to just come with it, because they don't feel to me like extras. They feel like they should just be standard equipment in a car of this level. So here in the back has not been the place I've spent all my time. I've been in the driver's seat. But you do see straight away, don't you, that the doors don't actually open that wide. It would make getting kids into car seats or people in who are less mobile a little bit tricky. But once you are in, there is loads of room in here. You've got loads of headroom because of this cutout in the roof liner. There's also cutouts just in the seat in front. So the seat's set for me. I'm 5'4". That's not much of a guide, I know, but it is decent leg room back here. It'll get taller people in. You've got central armrest, a couple of cup holders. This really disappoints me. I just don't want to see this anymore on electric cars. I know it's difficult because, this is built on a platform that's also being used for building petrol and diesel cars on. But this is the joy of electric. All this floor space that we get back, get rid of it. There we go, that's my rant over. The other slight rant that I've got is that these are really useful. So these are little iPad holders. So you've got a charging port there in the back. You've also got charging ports down here along with the rear heating control panel. But if you want the iPad holders, you've got to pay almost 150 quid for each of them. So you've got 2 children, you want one for each side, that's an extra £300. I do think the extras are quite expensive. But other than that, this is a very nice place to be. It's nice and roomy. And again, the seats back here are comfortable. So let's take a look at the boot. As you would expect, it's electrically operated. You can also wave your foot around under there and it will open doing that, which is really handy if you've got loads of bags of shopping. It's a really good size. It's 490 litres. The problem that you have a little bit with it is that whilst it's very wide, it's actually not that deep, so you can't get larger items in there. Although I have done a couple of trips to the tip in this. Got some quite funny looks turning up at the tip in my i5 M60. But I did manage to fit loads of stuff in there. The problem was this. Let me shove that down. Look, it's so long that you get stuff at the back, and I literally couldn't reach. So I was having to kind of climb into the back to get stuff out. It's not very ladylike, is it? But it's a saloon. What do you expect? Get over it. You pay the price for all those lovely aerodynamics and a bit of clambering into the back of the boot. I can live with that, definitely. Right, come on, Brolly. I hate this weather. Now, because I'm very, very lucky, this car also gets some magic fairy dust sprinkled in the form of M Adaptive Suspension Pro, which at £4,000, I admit, is pretty expensive fairy dust, but it is absolutely brilliant. It somehow manages to make the ride feel comfortable and sporty all at the same time. You get the best of both worlds. That anti-roll stabilisation also really helps things along too. It feels supple and really steady going into bends, and also helping it on the corners is rear wheel steering. It just helps it to feel very balanced and controlled when you turn it in. It's got a really nice feel to it. The ride is a bit firm, but I do like the way it's been set up, and you might have noticed there's a massive P0 Pirelli tyres on those beautiful wheels, which are a bit of a nightmare to clean, but look fabulous. So those massive tyres do give you really fantastic levels of grip, and there's more power in the rear motor than there is in the front, so you get that lovely feeling of being pushed into the corner rather than pulled through it. I do really like the steering too. It's so quick to respond, and it's just got a really nice weight to it. So, brake regeneration. Now, I've mainly been using one pedal driving around town in this. It has a mode called adaptive regeneration. So the car basically decides when to apply the regenerative braking, either more aggressively or when to back off, and it's really quite clever. So if you release the accelerator with no traffic in front of you, it won't slow down. It senses that and it will coast. But if it detects traffic or other road users, then it activates the regen just to bring you to a complete stop, as it is doing now. It's not too aggressive and it's not jerky the way some regenerative features can be. And actually, I think the braking is one of the things I love most about this car. Now, it has rained almost every single day that I've had this car, and I'm not exaggerating. And whilst it's a brilliantly engaging car to drive quickly, what's really struck me is how safe and solid it feels. You've got just about every single piece of advanced driver assistance tech that you can think of on this car, but it's all calibrated really nicely. There's no jerky movements, no slams on the brake that just shock you too much. And I have been on some incredibly miserable long drive in terrible road conditions in it, and honestly, it hasn't missed a beat once. And I think that's what's so impressive about it, is that yes, it's got that out and out amazing speed. It can feel quite aggressive, but equally you do just feel like it's cosseting you and keeping you safe on the road, which if you've got the speed, then you definitely need that safety as well. So before I had this car, I spent quite a lot of time driving SUVs as a daily driver. My beloved Skoda Enyaq for one, but also loads of BMW's very good electric SUVs. I think I'd forgotten how much fun a really brilliantly engineered BMW saloon can be. And in electric form, I think they're making them even better. I'll be honest, this isn't really my kind of car. I've got a dog and I've got a teenager, both of whom get very muddy and needs loads of kit chucking in the car. It's actually not that practical. I almost fall into the boot every time I open it. But the joy that I've had from driving it has been something else. I find myself choosing the longer, more interesting route every time I get behind the wheel. My journeys home are going to be shorter now this is gone, but they definitely won't be as much fun.